Hey guys, this is episode number 9 of Daily Thoughts with David Coleman, and today we're going to talk a little bit about a couple different topics. I'm sorry I haven't been able to make a video the past couple days. We had a huge snowstorm that went through Indiana here on Wednesday, and yesterday I was sick on Wednesday. I think I got some kind of food poisoning or something from some milk, or I'm not sure what, but I was feeling terrible all day yesterday. But I'm back today. We're going to make a quick video. I don't want to make it too long because I want to get home and do a little bit of relaxing because this week has been just kind of overwhelming. But let's talk about the Artur Beterbiev versus Anthony Yarde boxing match, which is going to be coming up, I believe, tomorrow. I want to talk about... I'm just going to talk about, I guess, marijuana addiction and the getting off of THC and the kind of the weird dreams that some people talk about having. I am post marijuana addiction now. Probably we're coming up on, I think, 2 months of not having any THC. Well, not regular daily THC. And I want to talk a little bit about being unmotivated, and that doesn't have to do with what with not doing videos. The circumstances around not doing videos the past 2 days were kind of out of my control. However, I have felt a little bit unmotivated the past, I don't know, probably 2 weeks, and so I'm trying to get through that. But I want to talk a little bit about that to get more personal with you guys, and then I want to talk a little bit about the Legends of Vox Machina show that we've been talking about here regularly. Episodes 4 through 6 came out today, actually. So we have a lot to talk about today. We may talk a little bit about the there's a couple different things that are happening today. There was also a video released of the body cam footage of the Paul Pelosi attack, which I thought was extremely strange, along with there was a body cam footage that came out today of a gentleman in Memphis, Tennessee, who I don't really know all the circumstances of the situation, but it seems like the cops seem to have dispatched or killed this guy, and I'm going to do a little research while we're going through some other stuff really quickly. Let me pull this up and see if I can find some more information on this, because I'm kind of concerned about talking about it without having more on it. So let me pull up something really quickly and read this while I'm going on some other. Yeah, his name is Tyre Nichols. I don't want to mispronounce that. It's Tyre, so maybe Tyre. It's probably Tyre. And they're going to be releasing the body cam footage of that. He's from Memphis, Tennessee. And they're preparing for a whole bunch of riots around that city, along with all around the country. So let's get into the Beterbiev versus Yarde fight. I don't know Yarde at all. He's from the UK. Beterbiev's obviously from Russia. Artur Beterbiev is, I believe he's 18 wins, 0 losses, all 18 wins by knockout. I did box for a short amount of time, not professional or anything like that, just as like an exercise thing. So I really enjoy the art of boxing, and it's going to be a really interesting fight. Artur is kind of or Beterbiev is kind of he's kind of like the up and coming Terminator guy that knocks everybody out and is impossible to beat. So that's going to be a very interesting fight. I believe it's in Wembley, which is obviously in the UK. So Anthony Yarde will have a little bit of an advantage there. But it's kind of nice to be able to get away from MMA a little bit. There's been some really interesting MMA fights, like last weekend with the Jamal Hill versus Glover Teixeira fight. I thought that was kind of just an interesting circumstance. They announced today that they're going to be having the Perreira versus a Stylebender rematch here in April, which is awesome. But a lot of the UFC fights that are going to be really interesting are here in the future and won't be for a little while. So the boxing world is going to take over for a little bit. Also, Jake Paul is fighting Tyson Fury's little brother, Tommy Fury. Again, supposedly this is like the 3rd time they're making this fight, which may or may not happen. We'll see about that. But boxing is going to be reigning here for a little while to get some attention. I think Beterbiev's going to win. He's just kind of the Terminator, and that's kind of his deal. He just kind of breaks people apart and then knocks them out. He's got so much power that it's really hard to stay away from. So as long as he can weather the storm through the first couple rounds and prevent getting hurt by Yarde early, I think it should be a pretty easy fight for not an easy fight. No boxing match is easy, obviously, but I think Beterbiev's going to win that one. So that's what happens in boxing. MMA wise, Perreira versus Adesanya. I think Adesanya is going to pull out the rematch here in April. We'll talk more about that when we get into that time period. And then the Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury fight, if that even happens. I think Jake Paul has a good chance of winning that one. Jake has put down quite a few good fighters here recently and isn't really scared of anybody. And I think Tommy Fury, though he is a good boxer, unless he gets some really, really good confidence going in here, I think he's going to have a hard time winning this fight. So that's boxing for you and MMA. We'll get that out of the way really quickly. Let's talk about THC addiction and some strange dreams. I was a daily smoker of THC, specifically concentrates, for almost, I would say, 2 years. And I quit recently, and it's been about 2 months now, maybe a little bit less than that. But I have smoked recreationally, intermittently, maybe once every other week or something like that. But I've been having some extremely strange dreams, and I know people talk about that a lot, getting off of THC. There's a lot of people that get some really extremely strange dreams, but these have been like reoccurring and have kept me up and kind of like a nightly ordeal. I'm hoping that this stuff goes away here soon. Otherwise, I'm going to have to start taking edibles in order to fall asleep again. But if you guys are users or former users of THC, let me know your experience. Does it go this long? I was smoking concentrates or dabs or carts for 2 years plus probably, and stopped. So just really, really weird. And honestly, some of them were a little bit terrifying, like nightmares and stuff like that. Not fun. Kept me up quite a bit last night and the night before that. I was also not feeling very good the night before that. But if you guys have any experience with that kind of stuff, please let me know in the comments below. It's something I have experienced before when I've quit right after college and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's a very interesting experience. I know that THC, especially prolonged use of THC, can cause a lot of weird brain chemistry that once it's corrected, or once you get off that kind of stuff, it can cause a lot of problems. So I found myself that I was starting to forget things as I was smoking longer and longer for years and years at a time. I was starting to forget words, starting to forget basic, like, I don't know, like basic math and stuff like that. I was always very talented at math and science and things like that, and even English. And I was having a hard time remembering what words to use and how to do basic, like, multiplications and addition and stuff like that. And I couldn't do that anymore, so I had to stop. Moving on to the next topic of being unmotivated, I think THC is another way that can create a system of being unmotivated, because obviously a lot of people say that stoners and people of all kinds who smoke or eat edibles are, whatever you'd consider unmotivated or lazy. I don't think that's necessarily true. I haven't smoked here for a while, but I will tell you I have been unmotivated the past 2 weeks. I think it's because of the weather. To be honest with you, I think I have like a seasonal depression of some kind. I live here in Indiana, obviously, and it's been just kind of miserable and gray and disgusting here. And I know that there's a whole bunch of studies in the Norwegian countries, or Scandinavian countries of all different kinds of people that have high suicide rates and all that kind of stuff, who have a hard time keeping their positive demeanor because of the ridiculously long winters and the dreary weather. But I am just not a fan. I'm not a fan of the weather here. I'm not a fan of the continuously gray skies and the spin. I don't mind the snow, honestly. I just get all bundled up in my beautiful, I wear this daily now, my jean jacket, which I love very much, and my Carhartt, and I feel pretty okay. I had my beard grown out for a while, and I trimmed it down a little bit, but this is my insulation and my long hair, and I do okay. But it's I think the constant dreariness of Indiana and just the nasty weather that really gets me down and makes me feel unmotivated. I really do like being outdoors. I'm a big car guy, which is unfortunate because living in Indiana, we have a lot of car things to do here, including the 500. I'm a big Indy 500 fan also, and go to the race every single year. But man, it's really hard to stay motivated during specifically this time of year. I feel like always through the holiday season, Thanksgiving, Christmas, I feel pretty good. I love the holidays. I love going through that time period. I love doing the gift things. I love the holiday spirit. And then after we get past the holidays into the new year, from like the first, second, third week of January through like the end of February or March, it's always kind of a drag. And so, not really looking forward to this time period, but this is kind of when I get unmotivated and feel very like just low, just down. So, bear with me if I miss a video or something like that. I'm actually like trying to force myself in order to do these videos every single day. I think it's important to do them and do it as a as a habit, because then it becomes, you know, less. It's not a chore. It's just a habit, right? And that's something that needs to be reinforced in your mind over and over again. So anyway, if you guys are feeling unmotivated, or if you guys get seasonal depression of some kind, please let me know what your solution to that is. I love to vacation. I got to be honest with you. I love to vacation in Florida. I have my best friend and his wife are big Disney people, and I'm going to Disney with them in September. And I know it sounds stupid for a single guy from Indiana to go to Disney as a 27-year-old. I'll be 28, but you know, it's actually a lot of fun as an adult. They have all different kinds of alcoholic beverages on every corner. There's so much to explore. I was a Disney child growing up too. I watched all the movies and all that kind of stuff. So it's actually a lot of fun, and I just love the weather. So I wish the solution for me for being unmotivated, especially in this time period of the deep winter of Indiana, I wish the solution was just to go on vacation, which I normally do around this time period, but I just didn't have time for it this year. So it is what it is. Let's talk about the Paul Pelosi thing and the political stuff. Let's get that out of the way really quickly so we can move on to more fun things like Vox Machina and stuff. The Paul Pelosi video came out today, which is the body cam footage of his assault, him being assaulted, I'm sorry, by this gentleman named David. I'm going to forget his last name. I know his name's David because my name's David. But the body cam footage came out, and I have to say, it's probably one of the weirdest videos I think I've ever seen in my life. I think it was two police officers show up to Paul and Nancy Pelosi's house in San Francisco, and I did listen to the 911, 911, whatever, 911 phone call beforehand also, and that was strange as it was. Paul claims that he didn't know this guy, David, who had broken into his house, and he seemed very cordial to begin with, and then this is in the 911 call, and then later in the 911 call, the guy David starts talking to the operator on the phone with Paul Pelosi, and they're having like a conversation back and forth about the situation. Paul hangs up the phone because this David guy suggests or tells him that he needs to get off the GD phone, I think was the terminology that he used. And then we get into the actual body cam footage of the police officer showing up. And the way that it basically runs down, and you should watch this video because it's too weird to even explain. But basically what happens is the police officers walk up to their San Francisco home, knock on the door, open the door, and the first thing that you see is this guy David, who is a larger, younger man. I think he's in his 30s or so, heavier set. And then Paul Pelosi, who has a dress shirt on with just underwear under that, no pants on. Okay, and this David guy is holding a hammer by the actual shaft of the hammer, like where you would normally hold it to hammer nails. And then Paul Pelosi has a hold of the other end of it, the actual claw end of it. Okay, and is holding it, look like he's trying to prevent him from using it of some kind, but they're not doing anything explicitly violent. They're just kind of standing there, okay? And they're just standing there, and they greet the police officers together. And in Paul Pelosi's other hand, he has a drink cup, okay? And I don't know if he's been drinking it. I guess it really doesn't matter, although Paul Pelosi has a DUI record. But he has a cocktail cup in his other hand, okay? And as soon as the police officers open the door, okay, this David guy, well, they see, hey, what's going on? You know, what's going on in here? And the police officer says, hey, drop the hammer. What's going on here? And as soon as the police officer says, drop the hammer, okay, this guy David, who has apparently broken into the Pelosi house, rips the hammer out of Paul Pelosi's hand and then starts beating him over the head with it right in front of the cops, okay? Like, right in front of the cops, which doesn't make any sense to me. If there was a physical altercation of any kind, wouldn't you think that you would want to do it before the police got there and then leave? But as soon as they open the door, within like 10 or 15 seconds, this guy rips the hammer out of Paul Pelosi's hands and then beats him over the head with it, and then the cops subdue him and all hell breaks loose and all this other kind of stuff. But just one of the strangest videos I have ever seen in my life, especially when it comes to just human contact and human interactions with each other. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It really doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure everything is on the up and up in that video. That's all I'm going to say about it, because it seems very odd. You should go watch it if you haven't seen it yet, and you make your own determination. But it seems very odd. So there's one thing. Next thing, let's get onto this. Let's get onto Tyre's case from Tyre Nichols, and he's from Memphis, Tennessee. And I'm just going to read a quick report here. Former Washington, D.C. homicide detective, and this is from Fox News, which I'm not a huge fan of Fox News, but this is the first link that came up. And Fox News contributor Ted Williams says the Memphis Police Department plans to release police-worn body cam footage showing the January 7th police beating of Tyre Nichols on Friday, Friday evening. And it says the footage is very, very troubling. Memphis Police Department is expected to make the body cam video, which is Attorney General Merrick Garland described as deeply disturbing, public around 7 p.m., which is like literally in 12 minutes from now. On Friday, leading cities across the United States, including Memphis, Atlanta, and New York City, to prepare for potentially large protests beginning on Friday evening and continuing throughout the weekend. And, I haven't watched the video, obviously, because it hasn't been released yet, but I did look at who the officers were who are in this circumstance. And the gentleman, of course, Tyre, is an African-American gentleman. And I shouldn't have said of course there. He is an African-American gentleman, which is why there's going to be protests. The problem is all 5 of the officers who are involved in this incident are also African-Americans. And so we have an all black-on-black violent incident here where it looks like these 5 police officers beat the ever-living you-know-what out of this guy and I think killed him. Killed him. And he had posted bail from jail. It looks like they were all fired. Let me see if there's anything. Yeah, terminated on January 18th. So within 2 weeks, they were all terminated. So, man, you know what? There's not a lot of good things to say about this. This is, obviously, police on civilian violence, which I detest. I think in general, police officers are way too hands-on. For most circumstances, and I'm not saying I'm against police officers whatsoever. I'm not saying that we should be defunding the police whatsoever. I am saying, however, though, that there are a lot of police officers out there that are poorly trained, that are kind of not forced into the force, but quickly put into whatever police department they're into in order to fill staffing quotas that need to be taken care of in certain parts of the country. And I think that leads to a lot of poorly trained, badly behaved police officers who are just following orders or following the advice of their superior officers or the example that their superior officers are showing them. And the problem is, I think what's happening here is they're going to make this a race thing again, where it's a black versus white kind of issue. But I hope that the goal of this is to reform and to re-educate and to redefine what law enforcement should be doing in the United States of America. And I don't think that that's what this is going to turn out to be. I think this is going to turn out to be a racial thing, which in this case it was 5 black police officers who beat a black man to death. And you know what? I don't really know what to say about this other than this is really dumb. And this is the problem with a lot of poorly trained police officers and poorly trained law enforcement out there who want to get hands-on with people in circumstances that maybe they shouldn't have. Let's see. It says now that I'm looking at this article again. The former police officers who were all fired turned themselves in, were each charged with 7 counts, including 1 count of second-degree murder, 1 count of aggravated assault, 1 count of official oppression, and 2 counts of aggravated kidnapping and official misconduct. They were all released on bond as of Friday afternoon, which would have been today. So, you know what? I mean, they're going to get exactly what they deserve, and this is good on the Memphis Police Department for charging these guys with basically murder. It's second-degree murder. They killed this guy. And I don't know what Tyre did, to be honest with you. And let me see if I can find it real quick. Police officers. Okay. Deeply disturbing, blah, 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 blah. In general, I can't find it in this article right here, which is kind of concerning also, but it doesn't really matter unless he was like really like threatening someone's life or had kidnapped somebody or was holding somebody hostage. There's no real reason to beat someone to death. Okay, especially with 5 police officers there. Why would you beat somebody to death when there's 5 police officers there that could easily subdue this guy? I don't know. See, and that's the problem we get into is what is the definition of justified force against or justified violent force against someone, against a civilian who's unarmed, right? And the race doesn't matter in that aspect. You know, it could be a white officer or a white subject and 5 white officers. It could be a black subject and 5 white officers. It could be an Indian subject and 5 white officers, or whoever it is. There needs to be defined laws about when a police officer can use lethal and or violent force against somebody that will actually. And when it goes past that, which obviously it did in the circumstances, these guys need to be charged with crimes, and in this case they were, which is good. When police officers are charged and convicted for the crimes that they commit, then we can have an honest conversation about policing in the United States of America. Now, once again, I support police officers and law enforcement in a lot of circumstances. I think a lot of things that they do are really, really good for our communities all over the country, including where I live in Indiana. Okay? But I think the war on drugs, in particular, and other such policies from the mid 20th century, I think that has created a lot of tension between minority and poverty communities. And that causes a lot of violence between police officers, law enforcement, and low-income or minority communities. And that's why we have so many instances between law enforcement and minority communities. So I think we really have to... things like this, unfortunately, are happening all over the country. But the more we point them out, and the more that we have these officers fired, charged, and then convicted and put in jail, which is a horrible thing for a police officer because they're going to be in jail with all the people they put in jail. So that's probably not going to go very well for them. Then maybe we will have a real serious look at law enforcement, and law enforcement officers will take a long, hard look at themselves and think, maybe I need to really think about what I'm doing here, and if I am violating this citizen's rights in these different ways. So I think we have to write a middle ground here. I don't believe in defund the police, and I also don't believe in the thin blue line where we have to support law enforcement all the time for every reason. I don't think that either one of those are true. Now, to get off this kind of subject in the best way possible, I hope that we don't have any protests tonight in Memphis or New York or Detroit or Chicago or some of the communities that they think they're going to have them in, because that is going to lend more credence to the idea that law enforcement is always in the right. Because if you go too far on the defund the police side, where you're burning down churches and you're burning down, and like in Atlanta, we talked about this last week, where you're burning down police cars and police precincts and training centers for police, you immediately lose the argument. You immediately lose your case, because you're just being violent and looting and destroying and rioting, which I guess gets your point across, but doesn't get anyone on your side, right? So if you're trying to prove a point and say that this is a terrible thing that happened to this young man, which of course it is. He shouldn't have died in the circumstance whatsoever, and the body cam footage I'm sure will show that. He shouldn't have died. However, destroying millions of dollars worth of property is not going to get anyone on your side. That no one is going to feel more sympathetic to your cause. In fact, people are going to be less sympathetic when you destroy their businesses or their tax dollars when it comes to police officers' vehicles or establishments or whatever. So, I think we really have to walk a fine line here on how we do law enforcement re-education and hold them accountable. And it seems to me like the Memphis Police Department is holding these guys accountable and is charging them with what they need to be charged with. So I think we should follow this case. We should make sure that these 5 officers are charged, which they have been, and then convicted of their crimes. And then I think that's justice, honestly. I think the justice system in certain circumstances, in a lot of circumstances, does prevail, and will punish these guys for what they did. That doesn't bring Tyre back. That doesn't bring him back whatsoever. And that's a tragedy. However, it is the justice system's responsibility in order to bring these people to justice and hopefully be a beacon of justice and truth in our country that will show other police officers nationwide of all different kinds of colors, law enforcement officers of all different kinds and colors and genders, that it's okay, to de-escalate a situation and to you don't need to be hands-on. You don't need to impose your will or impose your copness, your authority on people just because they don't do exactly what you want them to do at that moment. I don't know the full circumstances of this. If he resisted arrest or if he attacked a police officer, we'll see that in the video. We'll see what happens. But from what I can understand from the situation, I don't think that's true. So we'll see. We're now we're at 25 minutes. This was supposed to be the shortest video of them all, and now it's been the longest. So let me know about all the topics that we talked about today. We talked about boxing, THC addiction and strange dreams, being unmotivated and seasonal depression, and now the Paul Pelosi video and Tyre Nichols. Last thing I'm going to remind you guys of is to make sure you go watch, if you're a big nerd like I am, please go watch the episodes number 4 through 6 of The Legends of Vox Machina on Amazon Prime. If you have Amazon Prime, they're fantastic. I'm a big D&D nerd, so, go watch those. And if you haven't watched the first 3, go do that also. Besides that, follow me on my social media channels, David Coleman YT, or David Coleman YouTube on Instagram. Also, go follow me on Twitter at Colema, Colema 63 ETH. On Twitter, and then on YouTube and Rumble, I am David Coleman on YouTube and David Coleman 27 on Rumble. I know all of them are completely different, but maybe one day I'll get those all lined up so that God, I can't talk. So that they're the same. Anyway, I'm super tired, and it's almost 7 o'clock, so I'm going to go watch this video of this body cam footage and be really sad about that, and then go home and sleep. So I will talk to you guys later, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.